Welcome back, everyone. Back now to our top story, the push for justice by survivors of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The U.S. Justice Department, who told you at the top of the show, is making clear no new charges are coming, and it doesn't intend to reveal any more files after Friday's release. Many powerful people were referenced, including President Donald Trump, more than 1,000 times. While some references about him are benign, others include newly disclosed, unverified sexual assault claims. Many files that we showed you at the top of the show included redactions. Have a look at some of those on your screen. Yet some survivors had their names and identifying information exposed. Survivors' attorneys calling it an unfolding emergency. They now want judges to force the removal of the files from public view. Adding to the victims' pain, the New York Times says it's come across dozens of images that showed unredacted nude photos of young women or possibly teenagers with their faces visible. The paper says officials have now largely taken down those photos, and the DOJ tells CNN it's, quote, working around the clock to fix the issue. Let me get more reaction. I'm joined by Gloria Allred, an attorney for more than 24 Epstein victims. Gloria, good to see you once again. Let me first get your reaction to the release of these 3 million documents. What are the women, the victims who suffered, of course, in the hands of Epstein's kind of deprived world? How are they reacting to what's been released?
Well, many of my clients and also many of the clients of many other attorneys were just so horrified that they had been promised that their names, that their photos, that their emails, that their texts, that their direct messages would be redacted. And in fact, the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, had said the reason it was taking so long to release the files, which were due to be released December 19th, it was because they were trying to protect the survivors' names and identities. But what happened was, rather than protect them when everything was dumped and released on Friday, it turns out many of the survivors who had been called Jane Does, their names were not redacted. And some of my clients had photos of them that were put online, their emails, their texts, their other messages between Jeffrey Epstein and themselves. Some had the driver's license, other identifying information on there. And all of their information was not released, just some. And for some, that hurt their reputation because it was out of context. But the point is, it wasn't the survivors being protected. In fact, it appears that some of the potential sexual predators were being protected because the Attorney General said there's not going to be any more release of files, even though many were not released. And in addition, he said there will not be any prosecutions of any of the men. So I call that a case of I've made up my mind, don't confuse me with the facts. That's how it feels for me.
We'll get to Todd Blanche in just a moment. I just want to give our viewers some other examples of what we heard from other victims. One email allegedly lists 32 underage victims with only one name redacted and 31 left visible, as well as FBI 302 forms with full first and last names of victims unredacted. Can you speak, Gloria, to the real-life implications for so many of these women who trusted the DOJ with their names and their story here and their testimony?
Well, you put it exactly correctly. The 302 forms are the interviews with the victims and the FBI or the Homeland Security or prosecutors. And I was present when many of my clients were interviewed, and they were all promised by the DOJ that their names and all their information would be kept confidential. This was a number of years ago, except if they had to testify at trial, but none of them were called to testify at trial. There was no trial for Jeffrey Epstein because he died or was killed in the custody of the federal government in Manhattan. But in any case, this is devastating to them. It is just so humiliating, embarrassing. It's such an invasion of their privacy. They can't trust the Department of Justice anymore. That has been in question for quite a while. It's been eroded. But at this point, the trust is gone. but not only for them, for a lot of other victims of sexual abuse by other people. Why would victims, trust their information to the Department of Justice when it's obvious that they can't be trusted?
Yeah, and Todd Blanche, I think he said that the mistakes were, quote, inevitable, Gloria, given the volume of documents. How do you respond to that?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure it's a mistake. I'm not necessarily going to call it that. They're not the victims in this case. It's the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Maxwell. They are the victims. The Department of Justice has had this information for years. And, if they couldn't do this in 30 days, they should have told everyone that and asked, for more time at that time instead of complaining now. I'm wondering whether these survivors are being punished, because a lot of the information about the sexual predators is being protected, but the information about the survivors is exposed. It's out there for all the world to see. We have asked that our clients' information be redacted. We worked over the weekend, our legal team, and we sent what needed to be redacted to the Department of Justice. But it's too late, because a lot of people already have downloaded that personal information about the survivors. And it's just unprecedented. It's outrageous. Shame on the Department of Justice. The people who were hurt were the ones who trusted them. Unfortunately, they couldn't trust them. They were betrayed.
Gloria, any of your clients and any of the victims, are they suing the DOJ at all? From what are you doing to respond to this?
Well, first of all, it's a denial of justice once again for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, because they were denied justice in 2008 when the sweetheart deal was made with Jeffrey Epstein. Instead of a multi-felony count indictment, the U.S. attorney at the time sent it down to the state, and he only got Jeffrey Epstein 13 months in jail, and he could go to his office every day, where he also sexually abused girls, and then just sleep in the jail at night. But it was, again, when he was killed or died in 2019, justice was denied again for the victims who wanted to confront him in a court of law. And now 2026, they are being punished. And, I have to wonder, is this intentional or not? There's no justice for them.
Gloria, as always, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much. I know we'll stay in touch. Gloria Allred there for us